Life's a game, darling. And me? I'm the reigning champion. The Monte Carlo Grand Hotel was my stage tonight. Crystal chandeliers, the clink of champagne flutes, and the kind of people who wouldn't notice if you slipped their Rolex off their wrist mid-conversation. I was dressed to kill, custom Tom Ford, a Patek Philippe, fake, but flawless, and a smile that whispered trust me. I was playing my usual role, Jude Arlington, eccentric tech billionaire with a penchant for high-stakes poker and even higher-stakes women. A few well-placed rumors, a couple of fake Forbes mentions, and suddenly, everyone at the bar was dying to buy me a drink. Then she walked in. Kelly. Long legs wrapped in a dress that cost more than most cars, honey blonde hair cascading over one shoulder, and a diamond bracelet that might have been real if she hadn't been wearing it with the nervous energy of someone who'd just shoplifted it. Our eyes met. Hers were calculating. Mine, amused. She slid onto the stool next to me, ordering a martini with a twist. How original. You look like a man who's bored of winning, she purred, swirling her drink. I smirked. And you look like a woman who's used to getting what she wants. Her laugh was like velvet, expensive, smooth, and just a little fake. Maybe I am. Maybe I just haven't met the right challenge yet. Oh, this was going to be fun. We traded stories, hers about being the only daughter of shipping magnate Elias Vandermeer. Bullshit. I'd conned a real Vandermeer last year in Zurich. Mine about revolutionizing AI and owning a private island, complete with a fake photo on my phone for proof. The dance was familiar. Two predators, circling, each waiting for the other to slip. By midnight, we were tangled in the hotel elevator, her fingers in my hair, my hand on the small of her back, right where I'd felt the slight bump of a hidden money belt. Oh, so that's her game. She thought she was playing me. Little did she know, I'd already switched her diamond bracelet with a paste replica when she accidentally spilled her drink on me. As the elevator doors opened to her suite, she turned, lips brushing my ear. You're not like other rich boys, Jude. I grinned. No, sweetheart. I'm so much worse. And with that, the game was on. The suite was all soft lighting and expensive silence. The kind of place where secrets were traded more often than stock tips. Kelly poured 2 glasses of champagne, her movements smooth, practiced. A woman who knew the value of every gesture. I lounged on the sofa, watching her. So, Kelly Vandermeer, I mused. Funny. I could have sworn Elias only had sons. Her smile didn't waver. Adopted. After my mother passed. She handed me the glass, her fingers lingering just a second too long. Family's complicated, isn't it? Oh, she was good. I clinked my glass against hers. To complicated families and the fortunes they leave behind. She laughed, but her eyes were sharp. You know, Jude, most men try to impress me with their yachts or their jets. You're different. Because I'm not trying to impress you. I leaned in, just close enough to catch the faintest hitch in her breath. I'm trying to figure you out. She arched a brow. And how's that working for you? Still deciding. I let my gaze drop to her wrist, where the real bracelet should have been. But I do know one thing. You're not wearing your diamonds to bed. A flicker of panic. Then, just as fast, it was gone. She smirked, sliding the bracelet off and setting it on the table. You're right. I'd hate to lose them. Too easy. The champagne flute felt cool between my fingers as I watched Kelly's reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows. She was studying the bracelet I'd just returned to her, turning it slowly in the golden light of the suite. The diamonds caught the glow, scattering prismatic patterns across her collarbone. Tell me something, Jude, she said without looking up. How long did you know? I swirled my drink, considering how much truth to spill. That you weren't really Elias Vandermeer's daughter? About 30 seconds after you sat down. Her lips quirked. That obvious? Only to someone who's actually met Elias. I set down my glass with a quiet click. The man's allergic to anything female under 60. His board meetings are basically a retirement home for former mistresses. Kelly threw her head back and laughed, the sound rich and unguarded. For a moment, I saw past the con artist to the woman beneath. Sharp, vibrant, dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with stolen jewelry. She padded barefoot across the marble floor, stopping just inside my personal space. So if you knew I was fake. The air between us crackled with something more electric than competition. Kelly's breath hitched just slightly, a tell I'd cataloged for future use. Then she stepped back, all business again. If we're doing this, rules. Rules? I scoffed. We're criminals, sweetheart. Exactly. She retrieved her clutch, pulling out a Mont Blanc pen and hotel stationery. First, no marks above a certain pay grade. We want rich idiots, not people who'll send actual hitmen. I nodded. Reasonable. Second, full transparency on each job. No side plays. Her gaze turned flinty. I catch you holding out on me. Partnership dissolves. Permanently. Agreed. I took the pen, adding a third point. And no personal entanglements with Marks. Too messy. Kelly's smirk told me she saw right through that one. Worried I'll distract you, partner? Terrified, I deadpanned. We sealed the deal the way all proper criminals should, by emptying the minibar and planning our first joint venture. As dawn painted the Monte Carlo skyline pink, Kelly slept curled in an armchair, the stolen bracelet still gleaming around her wrist. I watched the steady rise and fall of her breathing, the way her fingers twitched slightly like she was still running cons in her dreams. This was either the smartest alliance I'd ever made or the beginning of my spectacular downfall. Probably both. And God help me, I couldn't wait to find out which. The Mediterranean sun hung heavy over St. Tropez harbor, turning the water into a liquid mirror that reflected the obscene wealth bobbing at anchor. I adjusted my Carrera sunglasses, watching as a crew of bronze deckhands polished the chrome on the Celestial S gangway. The yacht was a floating monument to excess, 180 feet of Italian engineering with a helipad that probably cost more than the annual GDP of some countries. Kelly stretched like a cat in the plush lounge chair beside me, the delicate straps of her sundress slipping just enough to draw eyes from 3 tables over. The rose in her glass caught the light, casting pink shadows across her collarbone. So, she murmured, lips barely touching the rim. Who's the mark? I didn't point immediately. Instead, I let my gaze drift across the marina, past the Russian oligarch's floating palace, beyond the Saudi prince's 3-decker monstrosity, before settling on the Celestial. Richard Blackwood III, I said, letting the name roll off my tongue with the proper amount of disdain. Stanford dropout, disruptive innovator, and living proof that trust funds should come with competency tests. Kelly's manicured fingers traced the condensation on her glass. Let me guess, Daddy owns half of Silicon Valley. Only the profitable half. I slid a manila folder across the table, its contents carefully curated over 3 weeks of surveillance. His latest venture is something called NeuroWealth, AI that supposedly predicts market trends by scanning hedge fund managers' brainwaves. She flipped open the folder, revealing doctored financials, a fake Forbes cover featuring Richard's smug face, and testimonials from satisfied investors who didn't exist. Christ, she muttered. Even for a con, this is stupid. That's why it'll work. I tapped the projected returns sheet. Richard's desperate to prove he's more than a lucky sperm club member. He'll jump at any validation, especially from Vanessa Cole, Kelly finished, her voice dropping half an octave into what I called her boardroom tone. She examined the fake business cards I had printed. Cole Ventures, specializing in disruptive fintech. Nice touch with the London address. Every American rich boy thinks British money's classier. I leaned back, watching a speedboat full of bikini-clad influencers roar past. Exit strategy? Kelly didn't hesitate. We take the wire transfer, let him sweat for 48 hours, then ghost when the regulatory hurdles hit. She tilted her head. Though we should leave breadcrumbs pointing toward a competitor. Let Daddy's lawyers chase shadows. I grinned. She was already thinking 2 steps ahead. That's why this partnership worked. By sunset, we were aboard the Celestial, surrounded by Richard's entourage of yes-men and Instagram models. The yacht's main salon looked like a Bond villain's wet dream. White leather, chrome accents, and a glass floor revealing sharks circling in an illuminated tank below. Richard himself was exactly as advertised, mid-30s with the spray-tan glow of someone who considered sunscreen a government conspiracy. His Tom Ford outfit probably cost more than my first car, but he wore it like a teenager playing dress-up. Vanessa Cole, he breathed when introduced, practically tripping over his own loafers. Your work with blockchain voting systems, genius. Kelly, now in her razor-sharp Stella McCartney dress, barely glanced up from her phone. I watched Richard deflate like a punctured balloon. Perfect. Jumping in, I clapped Richard on the back. Vanessa's been skeptical about NeuroWealth's scalability. I lied smoothly. Took me weeks to get this meeting. Kelly finally looked up, her gaze frosty. Because it sounds like neuromarketing nonsense wrapped in machine learning buzzwords. Richard's neck flushed. Our beta tests show 87% accuracy in predicting. Save the pitch. Kelly interrupted, turning to me. Jude, this is exactly the kind of half-baked nonsense I told you to filter out. The room went quiet enough to hear the ice melt in Richard's neglected scotch. 2 hours later, after a private demo in the yacht's absurdly high-tech conference room, 3 rounds of increasingly desperate explanations from Richard's CTO, a 22-year-old prodigy who kept citing Reddit threads, and Kelly's masterful performance of grudging interest, we had him. €5 million minimum investment, Kelly said finally, swirling her wine like she was already bored again. Transferred by noon tomorrow, or we walk. Richard's eyes gleamed with the desperate hunger of a boy about to prove he belonged at the adults' table. The funds will be there. The wire hit our Cayman Islands account at 11:47 a.m. the next morning. By 1:15 p.m., we were wheels up on a chartered Citation X, watching St. Tropez shrink beneath us. Kelly kicked off her Louboutins, propping her feet on the polished teak console between us. Did you see his face when you called his AI glorified astrology for MBAs? She laughed, the champagne bubbles catching in her throat. I tapped my glass against hers. That poor CTO looked ready to cry into his hoodie. For a moment, it was just the hum of the engines and the golden afternoon light filtering through the cabin. Then Kelly's smile turned razor-edged. You set up the shell company under his ex-wife's maiden name, didn't you? I didn't bother denying it. Figured Daddy's investigators would appreciate the irony. She shook her head, but there was something like admiration in her eyes. Remind me never to actually piss you off. As the jet banked toward Lisbon, I studied my partner in crime. The way the sunlight caught the gold in her hair, the calculating intelligence behind those brown eyes. This was supposed to be just business. Clean. Professional. So why did it feel like the most dangerous con was the one we were running on each other? The thought lingered as Kelly dozed off, her head eventually finding its way onto my shoulder. Outside, the endless blue of the Mediterranean stretched to the horizon, hiding all its secrets beneath the waves.